everybody, and welcome back to Buck's Beat Podcast, episode 143 today. We'll be talking about what went on. We'll put a wrap on week one of the college football season heading into week two. I'll be joined by CBS Sports college football analyst Rick Neuheisel, an old friend. We go way back. Always great to get Rick on kicking it around. But first, let me go with this. All right, I've got some advice for you out there. And the advice is probably best not to rush to judgment after 1 week of the college football season. DeBoer and Alabama stink. Arch in Texas, they suck. I've been hearing it out there, especially on social media. Nussmeier, he's the greatest. Lenore Sellers, he's unstoppable at South Carolina. Yeah, try to resist the urge to go there. Just trying to keep it real here. What was I impressed with week number one? Well, number one for me was the LSU and Ohio State defenses. Really stood out, made me pay attention looking around college football in week number one. This Tigers defense, Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, and Coach Kelly, they have finally put it together. They totally locked down Cade Klubnik and Clemson in that game. Also shut down Clemson's run game. So they took total control of the football game. This LSU defense, really impressive to see. This is what makes LSU a real threat in the SEC and when the college football playoffs get underway. They are a complete team. Got Nussmeier running that offense. I got some playmakers. Offensive line looks legit. And now you throw in a top caliber defense. LSU seriously looks like a problem this year. And I just love what they've done to their star player on defense as far as his new role on the LSU team. Harold Perkins, in this Blake Baker scheme, they have moved him from, in the beginning, he was an edge rusher. Then he was an off-the-ball linebacker. And now this year, he is the star, playing the star position on this LSU defense. And what that is a combination defensive back, linebacker role, the star position. He can cover, excellent range in zone coverage, athletic enough to match up man-to-man. He can blitz, get after the quarterback, so you can isolate him, give him the opportunity on big third down plays or big plays in the game to get to the quarterback. This is a dangerous combination with him. Keep an eye on Harold Perkins at LSU playing that star position. And getting a little of the backstory here prior to the podcast today, reading where Baker brought in Perkins during the offseason in Baton Rouge, and they had a meeting, and Baker, coach, says to the player, where do you feel most comfortable? Where do you feel would be best for you, the position to play on defense? And he said, well, Coach, that's not up to me. That's up to you. And Baker was determined to get his answers, so he pressed him on this. And Perkins said, Coach, I really believe my best fit is at the star position, where I can play as a defensive back and as a linebacker pass rusher. You get the most out of my ability. And so that's what Baker did. Baker said, okay, you're our star player on the defensive side of the ball. Man, he looks good. I was impressed with the Ohio State's defense against Arch in Texas. So, you know, Sarkisian's game plan was they felt really good about it. The Longhorns, Arch Manning and Shark, why would you doubt the game plan they put in? But what Ohio State was doing defensively, very impressive. Disguising coverages, making Arch believe that it was going to be one coverage after the snap of the ball. It was another coverage, and really did a good job with that. Belichick disciple calling those plays defensively for Ohio State, Matt Patricia. The other thought I had before we bring on Neuheisel, Rick Neuheisel will join us here in just a second. I want you to check out the college football QBR ratings after 1 week. And again, I know it's a small sample size, brother. I know this, and I just told you not to be jumping to major conclusions after 1 week. But I look and I see Gunnar Stockton rated number 1 in total QBR in college football. Number 1 in college football. Number 1 in the SEC. Coming into the season, remember there were some people taking some shots at Gunnar Stockton, including Paul Feinbaum, who didn't believe Gunnar Stockton was legit. But after 1 week, Gunnar Stockton, number 1. So Gunnar doing a great job, number 1, of managing the game. He was in complete control of this Mike Bobo Georgia offense. Managed the game. They only had 2 penalties. Gunnar made a lot of good decisions. This is what Kirby was talking about during the offseason. Pressing Gunnar on making a lot of good decisions, down and distance decisions. Gunnar did that. The most obvious thing was Gunnar Stockton. His mobility and ability to run is a big boost to this offense. Another dimension added to this offense. They're able to use the entire playbook. Under Carson Beck, they had to chop that part of the playbook out, the quarterback run. Gunnar was accurate with the football. Know he threw a lot of underneath stuff, but trust me, down the road, you'll see Gunnar taking his shots vertically down the field. And another thing I was very impressed with Gunnar Stockton, he took a lot of big shots in those last 2 games of last season. And I thought, wow, he's not getting up from a couple of those shots. He did, a tough guy, but proud to see Gunnar protecting himself, getting what he can get, and then getting down before he took a big shot. You know, these defenders, they're trying to take your head off. They see a quarterback running with a football, they get all excited. Gunnar doing a good job of getting down and not taking that big shot. I believe Gunnar will have a huge season this year. And the reasons are pretty obvious. He's got his skill set. He can do everything you need a quarterback to do. He's surrounded by great talent, and he's well coached. You get a good game plan, a good play caller, and I believe Mike Bobo to be that. Gunnar's in a really good place right now as we move a little deeper into the season. Joining me now, CBS college football analyst Rick Neuheisel. Rick, always appreciate your time, buddy. Have you given up on Arch Manning?
No need to. And that game went exactly to script in my mind. Both coaches were going to protect their quarterbacks, and I thought, unfortunately for Texas fans, Sark blinked. He decided, I'm going to start going for it on 4th down. Listen, that Texas defense held Ohio State with a young quarterback in Julian Sand to 203 yards. You couldn't ask more from Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. And yet, rather than lean on him and punt the ball or kick field goals, they kept trying to go for it on 4th down, put a lot of pressure on Arch, especially asking him to run and churn the trains from an interior standpoint. He's not Cam Newton. He's not Tim Tebow. He's got some elusiveness, but that's on the edges. Just blinked a little bit, and that's why Ohio State's now your number 1 team in the land.
Yeah, I'm still all in on Arch. I think he's going to be just fine. What about Alabama? Have you given up on Alabama, Rick?
Well, I'm not ready to give up because Kalen DeBoer's track record is too impressive. He's been good wherever he's been. Now, this is a different cup of tea, and he's not from that particular region of the country where football's a religion. That was a disappointing performance and then some, because at least to the naked eye, it looked like there were some effort issues, particularly on defense. So to me, that's troubling. That's where this has got to get fixed immediately. Louisiana Monroe's the opponent this week. Then next week in comes Wisconsin. They're going to have to get markedly better if they expect to compete successfully when they get to Athens in a couple of weeks.
Tell you, Rick, what really impressed me the most this weekend, the LSU defense. My goodness. Coach Kelly and I guess Coach Baker, the defensive coordinator, love what they're doing there on that defensive side of the ball. I think that may have been the most impressive thing I saw this weekend was LSU's defense.
I'm right there with you. And I would also put in there Carson Beck's first game out of the box, given injuries from a year ago, given, the kind of 8 months of, looking at the posts on social media. I thought Carson Beck played really, really well against a really good Notre Dame defense. But your point about LSU is well made. A couple of really key contributors in the back end. That Mansour Delane, that kid from Virginia Tech, was unbelievable.
Harold Perkins.
The kid that had to sit out. That Perkins. They finally have found a position for him, and he was outstanding. That was. They were the most impressive team from the SEC in week one.
Ohio State's defense, does that 1 and 2, them and LSU, as far as what you saw this weekend? I love what they were doing, the Buckeyes, too. Not given enough credit for the victory over Texas, I don't believe.
Agreed. And Matt Patricia, who just kind of joined the staff when Jim Knowles left abruptly after the national championship to go to Penn State, he did a great job. And it was interesting, about 2 weeks before the first game, he hired a guy to come and help him who had been in the system. Remember, all those other assistants that were part of Knowles' staff a year ago all stayed. So he needed somebody that kind of spoke the language to make sure that it was all getting communicated properly, and it got done. That was a yeoman effort by the Buckeye defense.
Rick, what about all these dual threat quarterbacks in the SEC? I count 12 out of 16 of the quarterbacks are of the dual threat variety. What do you make of all that?
Thank God they waited till 2025 to go that route, because I'd have never played it down if it had been that way back when you and I were playing. Listen, it's a remarkable tribute to people understanding how hard it is on a defense when the quarterback can run. It just puts immense pressure on him. That will be the case this Saturday night when John Mateer in Oklahoma take the field against the visiting Maize and Blue from Ann Arbor, Michigan. But they've got a great dual threat quarterback as well in Bryce Underwood. So it's going to be an interesting tale of the tape in Norman this weekend.
Rick, I've always respected your opinion, a guy that has played the quarterback position at a high level. You've coached the position. Always love to hear your thoughts. I want you to choose between several SEC mobile quarterbacks, and these guys are under the radar. These are the guys that nobody's really talking about. I can't stop watching Taylon Green out of Arkansas. Austin Simmons at Ole Miss had a big debut there. Lenore Sellers at South Carolina, everybody seems to be in love with. We've got Marcel Reed at Texas A&M doing some amazing things. Out of that grouping there, which one of those four guys would you be most impressed with at this point?
Well, the way Lenore Sellers finished the season last year sets him up for great success. Now, he's lost his coordinator, right? That guy went off to become the new head coach at App State, and now it's Mike Shula calling the plays. And to me, they leaned a little bit too much on drop back pass against Virginia Tech. Lenoris was sacked 4 times. That should never happen with a guy with his athleticism. And it means to me that it's too easy to predict where he's going to be throwing from. Defensive coordinators spend all week trying to get that X that's about 7 yards behind the center. And they need to move him more and use his legs more, as they did on that opening drive when he made Virginia Tech's defense look like boys to his man-child there running the ball with a 240-pound frame. So I think he's fantastic. Of the other guys you mentioned, remember Bobby Petrino was Lamar Jackson's coach at Louisville. Lamar Jackson was the ace of all aces in terms of elusive running. Taylon Green, they went and got him from Boise State because they saw that same athleticism. Look for him to continue to grow in that offense. And because of the fear of his ability to run, you're going to create some vulnerabilities in the back end for him to expose throwing the ball, which has been the key to Lamar Jackson's success even as he's gone on to the NFL.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch at least one weekend. What was your first impression of Gunnar Stockton? By the way, looking at the college football QBR ratings after the first week, and I know it's a very small sample size, but I see Gunnar Stockton, #1 in college football. I know it was against lesser competition, but here was a guy that, Feinbaum, there were a lot of people taking some shots at Gunnar coming into the year. What was your first impression?
Listen, they can take all the shots they want. What Gunnar Stockton is one of the boys, right? He shies away from the media attention that normally is associated with the quarterback position. He's not necessarily comfortable in being that guy. He wants to be one of the guys. And to me, he and the other quarterback in the state of Georgia, Haynes King, are the John Waynes of the position this year. They're just tough guys. They're the ones who are going to come into town and save the townspeople at movie's end. And I think Gunnar Stockton is going to be outstanding. I think he's a Kirby Smart type of guy, meaning very little need of attention. Just give me what you want, coach, and let me go out and see if I can get it done. But he and King at Georgia Tech are two guys to watch if you like grit at the quarterback position.
Rick, let's end it with this. I wanted to share my the time where I really fell in love with the game of football, and then I want you to tell us when that point in time was in your career. So I'm in middle school, 8th grade. We're playing the county school, and I'm first-year quarterback. It's a 7-7 game, couple minutes left. Had to be a couple hundred people there. It seemed like 10,000, but a couple hundred watching, and took a timeout. We're under a minute. Got one timeout left. I take the timeout, come to the sideline, and our head coach, Fred Muddy Waters. I asked Coach what he wanted to do here on this big third down play. We're at midfield, and he hesitated, and then he looked at me and he said, "Son, do what your heart tells you." And I said, "Wait, what?" You're not calling the play?
That's
I'm
code
thinking.
I don't have any idea.
So I go back in. I dial up the old dig with the post route, and it's our main guy, Slim Worthy. He was the star of our basketball team. Old Slim was about 6'7", 140 pounds, a thin guy. But I hung that thing up, and Slim Worthy ran under it for the game-winning touchdown. And boy, from that period on, I've been in love with the game and, the quarterback position. Rick, when was it for you that you fell in love with the game of football?
Kind of an interesting, similar story. I've got to make it quick. I was playing tight end in Pop Warner football. The quarterback got valley fever, and somehow my dad got a hold of the coach and let him know that I could throw, that I was probably better at quarterback than I was at playing tight end, where I was getting manhandled. And I got put into the position for the week of preparation. I went 11 of 12 for the game. Enjoyed it immensely, not getting hit in the mouth every down. And a game was born that became a love affair for a lifetime. And I had a blast and continue to have a blast talking ball with guys like you. And it's a treat always to come on with you, Buck.
Hey, Rick, thanks so much for the insight. We'll talk to you down the road, brother.
Look forward to it, my friend. See you now.
Week number 2 of the college football season. Yeah, this is the worst schedule of the entire college football season. And when the big game is number 18 Oklahoma taking on number 15 Michigan, I mean, that in days gone by, that would have been a huge game. But these days, that's the biggest game. I mean, the biggest SEC game this week is Ole Miss and Kentucky. Personally, I'm going to be focused on that Arizona State and Mississippi State game. That is very compelling out in Starkville. Mississippi State going with a blackout under the lights. I'll be paying attention to that one. Rivalry game, Missouri and Kansas. There's not a heck of a lot going on. Georgia and Austin Peay. We'll still break it down for you next week. Glad you were hanging out. Bucks Beat Podcast. We'll be back with a couple of more next week.